Hello and welcome everybody to the Beacon of Light podcast tonight. Tonight we have Miss Sunni Hearin, and I am so excited to have her here because her connection with me has to do with last week's guest too, and we'll just tell you a whole bunch of history. That's really good, and even more. All right, before we jump into that, let's jump into this.
I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now.
And we are back.
Yay!
Sunni!
April!
Tonight.
How are you?
I am good. You guys want to know what's funny? She's literally 9 houses away from me.
9 houses. We counted.
I know. We were in Twin Falls together, but it wasn't always the case, right? So,
Nope.
Sunni, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, April, before I do that, thank you so much for having me as a guest on your podcast, Beacon of Light. I started following you back in January when we met, which we'll tell that story in just a moment. But basically, I was raised in Alaska, and my whole life I had 2 basic interests. I had bowling, as in bowling, because in Alaska there's not a whole lot to do in the winter, and it's outdoor sports or it's indoor. So I did a lot of bowling and pursued that for many years. But my other love was writing and poetry. They kind of go together for me. So early on, even in grade school, when they first showed me how to write, I just went crazy. I think a lot of us are authors have that bone in us. And when we first get exposed to the thing that excites us, we just start writing stories. And I know I did. I started writing stories. I started as I got a little bit older. I really had a flair. I felt like I had a passion for poetry, and not like both kinds, like A.B. pentameter, kids stories. I love children's stories, and as well as just creative writing in general. I'm not so much a nonfiction person, but I am fiction, fantasy, and I have a little tiny flair of horror story, not full horror, but just a little bit. I wrote a short story. If you're familiar with the short stories, there's a contest every year. And I don't know if I told you this, April, but you can enter your works into a short story or a short story, which means the word requirement is, I think it's under 2,000 words. I can't remember at this time. But I ran into somebody at work one time. I was working at a hospital, and the gentleman down the hall, we bumped into each other at the coffee pot, and he started telling me that he had actually won the contest one year. And I was just blown away. And because I didn't tell anybody, I was sitting at home writing children's books on the weekends, putting them in a drawer and not knowing what to do with them. And I have got like 10 or 12 of them in the drawer, like most authors. You start a project, bloop, bloop, put it on there. So I asked him, hey, if I go ahead and I write a story, would you look at it for me and tell me what your real-time feedback is? I would love that so much. And so he did. And I was excited because I didn't know any other authors, especially people who had won awards. And at this time in my life, I'm about 32 and I'm living here in Washington. So I was super inspired, and he had pointed me in the direction of Stephen King. Stephen King wrote now forgive me, I'm not sure if it's a novella or it's a nonfiction work. I think it's called About Writing. Perhaps you've heard of it. I can't remember exactly the title. It's been forever. But basically, Stephen King wrote a book talking about all the elements of story that explode stories, in his writings, like what makes a good hook and what makes a good excitement. So I read his principles, and every day after I left work, I had to commute 45 minutes to an hour to get home. And so what I would do was take my laptop to the Starbucks. I like coffee. And I would just wait for the commute to die down. And I would write every single day on the story. And I just formed a story that was very exciting and intense. And it builds to a moment of high drama. And then you get to the very end and you don't know whatever happens to the main character. And so I got up the courage to submit it to the contest. I did not win, but I learned a lot about the process. And when I showed that, and I had some friends and family read the story, they would not believe me that it was make believe. They were so convinced that I had written a story about someone who was real. I based it loosely on one of my cousins who's a flight attendant. I used her similar name, and the basic idea, which I thought was, and I'll tell you what it is this flight attendant lands. She's walking down the ramp. She's exhausted. She decides to use the restroom. And she has to use the restroom, but there's construction down in like a new hallway, and there's nobody else around. So she goes in to use the restroom, and she has all of her stuff out. She leaves it out on the counter because there's nobody around. And she uses the restroom. Only a stranger comes into the restroom and tries to get at her. So it's just this really intense, like a 2-minute focus of what she does to escape from him when he's trying to bang on the door and get at her. And he's got access to her address, her purse, and all the contents of who she is, so he could find her. And in the end, she escapes, but does he have the wallet? Nobody knows. So it's a really fun little emotional roller coaster that I got to do. And also when I was in college, I majored in writing, I minored in poetry, and I got, high acclaim from the writing department, things of that nature. So I've always been involved at some point. Like I won poetry contest, and then, a little one here, a little one there, and just kind of enough to kind of just keep me going, but never quite finding my place. I think as most authors or most people do, I've always figured, I'm a children's writer. I love children, and I love farm animals. I love farm animal stories. I love nature stories. I got a book about, a fun book for 3 to 5-year-olds about rabbits. I have a fun story about a dog in a park who finds a bone. I've got a unicorn book, so I'm just kind of like in that kind of vein.
Right. So we've got lots of writing things happening there. We've got a lot of interesting, ideas. I think a lot of people are sucked into the area there. So as you can see, Sunny is a fellow author. She is one that's really, excited to share her story. She's going to be author of the live selling secrets. And before we come to all of that, how we are this dude her. So, how does this happen? Well, this is how it starts. Okay. So I am Jim Edward, and how that all came about was just incredible. It's a God thing. So I'm editing his book, doing the stuff, getting things ready for this next. It's going to be coming out soon, and doing all of that. Well, as you can tell, she is like a networker talker. She's like, hey, I got to get involved with this. She has like all the backbone to get in, I swear. That's why she wants to write scary stories, because she knows how to get in. Anyway, she was able to contact Jim Edwards and said, hey, you have somebody who's an editor? And he gave my information to Sunny, and Sunny contacted me, and now we are connected. And I mean,
now we're neighbors. What the heck? And you guys, I didn't move next to April because she's my editor. It was, again, April and I've talked about this. We both feel it was divine timing of God. He just said, so we were, my fiance, Darren, so I'm transmitting to you from the basement of our brand new house that we live near April and her family. But it was a complete fluke. We knew we were moving to Twin Falls sometime this year. We did not know April. I didn't meet you till I think March. I can't remember the exact month, but so back in January, my parents they already live in a town right next to us. So I was already flying down and visiting my parents, and I already have a lot of relatives in Twin Falls, and we'd already made up our mind we're moving here. So when I met April, she was like, I live in Twin Falls. I said, me too, almost. So we moved our whole family, our Darren and I and the cats, out from Seattle, Washington, and now we live in Twin Falls.
Yes, and it was an exciting time. So just to do some brag on Miss Sunny, this new book that she has, so she is a published author. She has lots of different things happening out there. If you go to her Amazon site, if you go to lots of different things, you can find things that she's written. So this book is coming. It's kind of a preview for everybody. So let's get right down to the business of how.
How'd I get there?
And I'm going through this right now, doing some editing, and it is awesome. It's really fun. So, Sunny, tell us about selling live and why it's important for an author.
Okay, so of course this is a loaded concept. Okay, so you might notice that I'm wearing a shirt that says pumpkin everything. Hopefully you can see that. It says pumpkin everything. So the reason I wore this shirt today is obviously you'll see I've got the pumpkins up here. I got one over here, and I've got some over here. So in 2019, I've been performing digital marketing for already like 5 or 6 years. And what happens is, as a digital marketer, some of the gurus in our space recommend that you reach out to another small brand and get a result. Like, reach out to someone you don't know, see if they'll be willing to work with you, get a result. Then that way you've got like a medium, small testimony, and then, get another one. And it helps build up your, just your market presence, right? And your authority. So I had reached out to, through a series of crazy events, I ended up reaching out to an Etsy seller, as a gentleman named Keith Cerrone, and he sells glass pumpkins. He is a glass blower. And I really like physical product. I was an Amazon seller, one of those people who mails stuff to Amazon, like a flipper, if you would call it like that. And I just liked physical product. I feel like physical products are easier to sell sometimes than digital products, because you can touch them, you can hold them up. And when people see it, they immediately say, oh, I know what that is. I either want it or I don't want it. Whereas sometimes a digital product, like a digital course, might be harder to educate somebody on, or it takes more education and more time. Whereas with to figure out if they want it. So because I used to work in a bowling alley in the pro shop, so I'm over here in this part of my life, I used to work face to face selling bowling balls, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So I learned a lot of technique and just how things work in marketing from the time a person comes in. Hi, can I help you today? Are you interested? What are you here for? Is there anything I can help you with? No, just looking. Okay, no problem. I'm here, if you need anything. And hey, did you know that we have this that's new today? And all those techniques that you would use in face-to-face marketing, everything from follow-ups, coupons, flash sales, one day, month-long sales, all those things. I did all those in real time. And I had that experience face-to-face. Well, as I transitioned out of that, so I'd literally go, do bowling during the day, and then I'd go home and work on writing at night. So I had this really weird duality, or I just always thought it was strange myself. But so I had this interesting back and forth. And that pro shop that I worked at, we were really good friends. And what they did was, it was right as Facebook was starting to roll out their advertising program. And I saw how powerful it was. And this was around 2013, 14, 15, right in there. And I said, hey, if I could experiment with your database, can I, try some things out for the bowling alley? And they did. And so I got some results. I figured out how to run some email, do some emails and run some basic Facebook ads. So a few years later, as I kept learning that, then in 2019, now this was right before the pandemic because no one knew it was coming. I had reached in November of 2019, I'd reached out to Keith Cerrone on Etsy because I had started a very small consulting agency for digital marketing, and I had done more publishing. So this is an example of a guide that I put together. It's basically a 20-page guide, and it's the October Ultimate Online Marketing Guide for small businesses who need a reason to market in the month of October. Because a lot of times people just need refreshers of like what's, so for example, it's like a little guide. You pick one or more of the holidays, and every single day of the month has a holiday. Like Tuesday, October 2nd might be Snickerdoodle Cookie Day, right? And Wednesday might be it's wear your rain hat day or something. So I pulled all these international holidays into one guide. So what you do is you go through and you find one that perhaps resonates with you, and then you say, okay, well, gets the juices flowing, right? Then you create a 1-week sale or a 1-day sale, and it just helps the brick and mortar people, get marketing ideas to get more people into their shop, is what this was. So I had in October one, that was the first one I did. And then I did a November one for the month of November. This also includes hashtags. These are available if you want to download them. I'll have them available for you guys. They're publicly posted. So there's an October, November. Well, I needed a cover for December. And I wanted to use somebody's, instead of just using a graphic, I wanted a picture of a real product. So I was on Etsy where physical products live. And I found this really beautiful purple pumpkin. And I thought, ooh, what's this? And I found out that the guy that makes it, literally, he glass blows it with a big pipe, he rolls it, puts a dart of air in it, and then spins it and makes it, blows in the tube, and and makes it bigger. He was living in Boston, Massachusetts. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, can I work with you? Can I put you on the cover of my December issue? And could I just work with you to see if we can't get a result? And he said, yes. So we started working together. We made it through like January, and then pandemic hit. We all know what happened in February. So we were like, this, and then a couple months later, I started running some Facebook ads and Instagram ads for him. We started building an audience, and we started getting some sales. And we were excited. We were putting $1 in and getting $2 back out. So that's basic marketing 101. So if you are able to do paid advertising, you want to at least get $1 in and hopefully at least $1.01 back out. So for example, a better example would be we would spend $20, but we would sell a $40 item, right? And we were getting 1 a day or 2 a day on a low dollar budget. Well, we did that for, I did that for about 6 or 7 months. And then I said, I see a lot of people building communities with Facebook groups. How do you feel if we were to build a group, if I built a group for you, and then we can go live in it and you can sell your stuff? And he said, no.
And why did he say no?
He said, no. He said, oh, that's the word for no. He said, you can build it. Let's go ahead and build it. But I will never, ever, ever, ever go live. Ever. But keep asking. So I said, okay. So I started running ads and getting people to his group and building that community. And in September or October, I think it was September, my dates are off, but it's in the book. We finally had 500 people in his group, and we were starting to get some residual sales because I was posting as him. Facebook makes it so it looks like you're the business owner. And I was posting his link and driving people to Etsy, and we were starting to get more sales. And now at the time, he was still working a day job, and he was making $500 a week. And now Keith has exclusively allowed me to use all of his stats and numbers publicly in case anybody's wondering about this. And the stats are in the book as well. So he knows he's a case study and he's okay with me telling you these things. So he's making $500 a day. And I said, well, Keith, now you have $500 a week at a day job. And then we had this little tiny thing brewing in the background. And I said, you've got 500 people in the group. Why don't you just go live and sell your stuff? And I said, look, I kind of was like, you promised, right? You did promise. It's been 9 months. Basically you owe me this because I've worked for free all year. Like, you have to go live. And he was like, okay, I'll do it, but it won't be tonight. And, then there's like all these, people have anxiety, and I get it because now I'm a live selling coach. People have anxiety about going live, and they don't know what to say, and they don't want to look stupid, and they don't want to, all these internal battles we have, which I totally get, and not having gone live too much more than him. But I have a background in public speaking also. And I was a trainer at a hospital. I used to train physicians face-to-face and do presentations. So I have that face-to-face experience also. So for me to go live, and so I told him, I can't go live. I'm not Keith Cerrone. You're Keith, not me. It won't make any sense if I do it. So he went live, and it wasn't great, guys. It was short. It was simple. It was like 48 seconds. And the group went nuts. They were just like, oh my God, where can I buy this? Drop a link. I want to buy it. And we saw, and overnight we made $175, which these are $50 price points on the pumpkin. So it was like 3 or 4. And we were like, like, yeah, right. Like, so I said, well, let's do that again. And this time let's actually try, like, let's just have like a little selection. So we picked 8 items. We did it one more time and the next time. And also as an artist, and much like an author, like, nobody wants to go live and be rejected. Like, this is my life's work. Please come publicly, shame me. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be heckled or jeckled or whatever. Like, nobody wants that. It's hard enough to go live. And then you have trolls, right? Like, you're ugly, you're stupid, you shouldn't. I mean, we've literally had, I think all of us who've gone live have had someone tell us we never should have been born. It's just like, come on. So Keith, and as an artist, he had that extra fear that he's like, I'm an artist. And if these people reject me, and I knew that just kind of the way he phrased it, if he felt rejected, he would completely shut down. And game over, right? So I said, no, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So a little bit of, I was like, come on. So we went ahead and he did this broadcast. He had 8 items. We numbered them 1 through 8, kept it super simple. We wrote down the prices you literally use sticky notes. Like this pumpkin is $45. And we just said, the first person to write the word 1 in the comments will get it. And he says, Sunny's here. She'll write down who comments first. Right. And then there was like that very first time there was that moment of 20 seconds, which we now know is the Facebook lag. But we thought like nothing happened. And I was terrified. I was sitting there going, it's gonna, whoa. And then all of a sudden people were like, 1, 1, 1. And Keith was like, oh, okay. All right. Well, okay. Well, then here's another one. It's number 2. And they were like, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And we're like, and then we're like, what do we do? So we sold everything gone, all 8. And he made like $500 in 20 minutes or, whatever the math was. And now we're like, hold on, wait a second. What just happened? Because it just blew our own minds. We were like, okay, so and I had to go back through and find who commented what. And I'm a spreadsheet kind of girl. So I went back through and I figured out how much money we missed that first show. And I counted up their comments and I was like, this was like $3,000.
Okay, $3,000 is being missed because of the setup. So I'm sure you fixed that really quickly, right? We fixed that. Now, how is Keith doing now? What is he doing now? How much
so that initial burst of energy and him, once he saw it was real and we got our first taste of, wait a minute, this is a thing and this could, now we're very like, a couple of things about Keith and I when we work together. There's a couple of things that we live by. We're very practical and there's a couple of things we don't do. Like, we don't try to get greedy ever, because we tried it once or twice. Like, you get tempted to be like, let's just do something. Let's get a lot of money this month. It always backfires. And I'm not saying, like, especially because you're dealing with people in a social currency of giving value, and then you do the offer, and you give the value, and then you do the offer. So you need to be very, very careful about how you do that. If you over pitch, they retract. If you give a lot of value, they move towards you, right? So, and it doesn't matter if you're selling a book or a glass pumpkin or a course, it's the same. It is all the same type of give and take, because they're people. So a few things that we learned right out of the gate was, one, we don't necessarily try to get a sale right away, because only 1% of people are willing to purchase at any one given time. So what we learned was, if you go live or get in front of people or create a content plan where you get in front of them multiple times, most people, and this is an industry statistic for marketing, it's an internationally known, just because of the human brain, it takes anywhere from 5 to 12 exposures for someone to make a decision to purchase from you, because they need to know, like, and trust you. So what we do is we invite people to join the group, and we don't worry whether or not people do end up purchasing right away, but we don't focus on it. We don't we don't go live like, God, we have to. And that's another thing too, is when you go live, this is one of the lessons of my book, is you have to disconnect, and it's hard at first, disconnect yourself from your, the emotion that you have tied to the money that you might get from your sale. It's super hard at first, because like, if you're broke or you don't have a lot of money and you're like, I need to sell this book, like, I need that $20, and you go live, they can feel it in the live stream, right? And so if you're overly pitchy or overly anxious, like you want to pounce on them, or angry, then they're not going to buy, right? And then if you're, but then the other side is, and I think authors especially might be guilty of this. They go live, or maybe they go live a lot, but they're afraid to tell people that that they actually have a book, or they're terrified to actually drop a link or do what we call a call to action that says, hey, if you guys enjoyed what we talked about today, be sure to click the link below, because maybe in our minds, maybe we've been told that marketing is salesy, or it's wrong, or we have a negative experience around a sales experience. So people feel weird about presenting their products, especially if we don't have any formal training. So things that we've learned along the way in our journey is, especially when we're selling products in a live stream, is we don't hide it. We lead with that. We say, hey, join our group, and we're going to go live every Wednesday, and you can be a part of our group. We'll let you in on our super secret little show that we have every Wednesday, where Keith and I now go live every Wednesday. We haven't missed a Wednesday, I don't think, in almost 2 or 3 years now. And to answer your question, April, we just crossed $500,000 in sales, and we're just coming on top of our 3-year anniversary. So
all on glass pumpkins.
In glass pumpkins. And now, so I've had some people say, well, of course you did good. It's pumpkins. Of course you're going to sell it. And that's absolutely the furthest from the truth, because actually one of our largest competitors, we know on the down low, we know that they struggle, because they're not doing the same things that we're doing. So it's not true in that scenario. Just because it's glass doesn't mean it's going to sell. But it's how we position it. It's how we market it. It's how we treat our community. And here's another staggering statistic I want to throw at you, April. And I was showing you this, I think, last week in the book, in one of my chapters, is that last year, so the first year, Keith we took him from $0 to $85,000. And that's in the book. And in year 2, which was last year, we went from, we were cruising along, averaging $20,000 to $25,000 a month in gross sales every month. That's what we do now, just rise and fall. And if I may, you've seen the back office. So I know you can, April, you can testify to this because I've shown you the back office, right?
I've seen it.
Yeah, I've shown it to April. And so what happens is we still go live and we average anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 each week, depending on time of year and things like that. And we just have a system set up now where, new people come in, they watch, they lurk, they see what's going on in the community, but we're consistent with our offer and our message, and we make it a show. So I have a 4-part framework that's in the book. The reason it's called live selling. It's actually an acronym. It's LIVE. And the L stands for learn who your people are, like who's your primary avatar / start doing lead generation. I'm a big believer in using paid advertising to amplify your message faster. The I stands for inviting people to your show. So you actually create a show or you create a schedule of when you plan to go live to your community. It can be once a week. It can be twice a week. It can be Monday through Friday. Like that's up to you and your brand. And what your community expects. That's up to you. But for us, we have found that Wednesday and sometimes Thursday, and every once in a while, we will do like a Sunday show because they ask us to. So what's fun about it is they're like, hey, we want more shows from you. So we go live more. And every time we go live, we sell. We've never not sold every time we go live. So because we have trained them to expect to spend money with us, they show up every week and they spend money. It's kind of like, I kind of teach, I tell people it's kind of like going to a movie for sure. Like you don't have a problem if someone goes to a movie and you pay money to watch a movie or they like it, they'll go see it again because they understand the emotional, you see an actor and you're like, oh, I like Tom Cruise or I like Brad Pitt. And that's because you're going to get a certain emotional connection with that main character that you're going to get over and over again. So you follow them and you go to other movies. So we do the same thing in our format where we become the main characters. Let me finish my acronym. V is for victory. So L-I, learn and lead gen, and then do an invite. V is for victory. So victory is you start making sales in your community. And now over time, you're rinsing and repeating and you're going live maybe once a week or twice a week. And then the E is evolve and scale. So that's where you start to really, a couple months in, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, you're able to put even more ad spend and really just grow your community. And by the way, always collect email addresses. That's a number one thing that we always did with us as well. So we're rolling and rolling and rolling. And the crazy part about, like, I think it's crazy. It's fun. It's fun to think about. I just like sales in general, but we found out that there's other people doing close to $1 million a month selling physical products for boutique, like clothes.
Wow.
So like I know one lady, she's kind of a friend associate. She makes $30,000 a month, and she sells $5 jewelry to her private community. I have another friend who goes live actually on Amazon as an Amazon live streamer. He's accepted into the live streaming program, and he makes $15,000 to $30,000 a month, and he doesn't even own any products. He just talks about other people's products inside of Amazon, and he gets paid a commission. And then I have another friend. I've got all sorts of friends that go live and sell things. So That's part of so the secrets are, how to be on camera, what to do when things go wrong, your tech, so basically, okay, so before I forget, my framework is that live selling is the intersection of four different things. It's live theater, like getting out there and get in front of people and being like, hello everybody, welcome back, and being like larger than life and filling the room. Next we have movie production, because movie production is like, it's the hair and the makeup and the enunciate and make sure you can, they can hear you in the back row, and don't look there, look here, and having a background set and making sure that is my lighting good, like all those tech things, and making sure you have the right software. Is it Zoom? Is it your camera? Do you have a co-host? All those things. So the third thing is organization. So I teach a framework, especially if you're going to have a show, like a show type like we have. You want to make sure that it follows a framework. So, for example, Keith and I keep a 1 hour show. We run a tight ship. We have organization, like 5 hours beforehand. We talk and make sure we're on the same page. We make sure that we have, just as an example, we always make sure that we have 3 topics to talk about in case there's a tech issue. We've got topics written down on a sticky on the wall in case something happens. We have at least 2 jokes written down at any one given time in case we need to throw in a joke, right? It's like things you wouldn't necessarily think about if you're especially with 2 people, there's a cadence and a camaraderie, especially with 2 genders, male, female, that we've learned to just banter back and forth, and it's not necessarily easy. You have to learn, when does the other person talk? When do I get to interrupt you? When do I be like, oh, hey, Keith, there's someone in the comment who says she wants to say hi to you because it's her son's birthday. Learning when to inject things into, to make the audience feel seen and heard, and make them, because the goal is to literally make them feel comfortable and like they're your family. That's our goal. That's our goal. And in return, by providing that kind of level of interaction and value, they pay money for their pumpkins.
That's right.
Over and over and over and over and over and over.
Right. And those are the secrets. If you can apply those things to your books, to anything like that, the things that she's talking about here are gold. Now, in order for you to get this book, I'm going to drop here this link here, right here. This is a place where you can go. It's not pre-sale, not yet, but you're putting your name down on the list and being able to get this book as soon as it's all ready. And I'm working on the editing and she's working on the writing, so it'll be ready for you guys. I'm looking for an October launch, because in October everything is happening and pumpkins are going to be crazy.
Yep.
There's so much happening. Yes, it is pumpkin season. So there is the link right there. You guys go ahead and click on that and put your name on the waiting list for it. And I think that those things are incredible. So again, the connections that we have in our lives really connect in ways that we would just never even understand, right? How is this all going to work together? What's going to be happening? And sure enough, if you kind of trust with the Lord and see how things happen, they really work out for an amazing benefit. I mean, Sunni, she has introduced me to other authors who needed help and support with their writing. And now, I mean, things are just scaling at a level that is incredible. And I have to say, Sunni, she really helped me with my funnel. And I'm not saying that you can, maybe pay her to build you a funnel, but, maybe if the price is,
Depends.
10,000. Anyway. So anyway, the point is get out there, be consistent. And I think what's really interesting is the more consistent you are, the more people will show up, because it's dependable when you build those relationships with your communities. And it's like when you turn on the TV for, is it called QVC?
Yes.
when you're going there, you know it's a place to shop. You're not going to be like, oh, I can't believe they offered me.
I
Oh,
can't believe they're selling me. No, you're like, yeah, what's that number?
so
And you're like,
get used to, you build your audience to learn how to buy from you. That is a
yep.
huge part. We're sometimes so afraid, authors, to talk about our own books. I wrote this book. Yeah, please buy it. You know, like
Well, April, I'm really glad you brought that up right now, because I just want to allay some fear here, right? Like, I'm not Miss Perfect, okay? When I wrote I did publish my very first children's book on Amazon. It's out there. It's called Whisker Twisters. It's got a green cover with a cat on it, because I love cats. And I'm sorry, I don't have a copy in front of me. We just moved and I couldn't find it in the boxes. But what I'm trying to say is, I was so terrified to put my real name on it. I put an acronym or whatever on it. So it's out there. It does say Sunni Hearin, but the cover says Sun Nation. It doesn't actually say Sunni Hearin, because I was like, oh, what if someone sees it? So this was not always natural for me. I just want everybody to understand that this was a process over time. This wasn't like, oh yeah, I got this. No, I had a coach in 2017. I went to a seminar with a digital marketing expert, and he said at that time, you have to go live if you want to. You've got to make video, is what he said. He's like, you have to make video. You have to get on camera. And I was in the audience like, no, like, no. I literally went through the whole transformation of learning that if I went live, because you feel like you're going to die, right? You're just like, you get the red flashy, and then your heart starts pounding, and then you're just like, and then you sound weird, and like, been there, done that, check. And so I've just over time have learned, as especially after going live multiple times a week now for multiple years, now it's easy. But what my hopes are is, and I would love to leave just a quick moment, I would love to leave something tangible for the authors, right? Specifically, because I understand that this might sound like, pie in the sky, or if you haven't heard a lot about marketing, or if you're not used to the idea of going live or anything like that. So you would ask me at the beginning, why live selling, or how do authors with live selling, right? So now with Keith, he's got like 55 products, right? Whereas an author might only have like one book, right? And they might say, oh, well, that's not for me. And I would challenge that, because you can take your one book, or your two books, or your three April's books, right? Her Beacon of Light book. And what you can do, instead of trying to, go make 50 products like Keith, because he can do that, because he's got different colors of glass. And actually, a lot of these all these over here are his as well. So I've got different kinds of different colors, and they appeal to different people at different times. So if you have, what I would recommend is figure out the overarching category that you wrote your book in, right? So everybody's book is going to fall into a category. Is it nonfiction, fiction, children's? Like, what is it? And then figure out different things that your audience, like, they might like they know you have the book. Okay. So they're not in any hurry necessarily to buy it. And they'll follow you because they want to hear from you, not because, they're going to buy the book. And most people who buy a book don't actually read it. So we need to just understand that, just because they buy the book doesn't mean they're going to read it either. So we need to figure out, like, when we're promoting our message to the market, is it because we want them to purchase? I mean, secretly, yeah, sure, we want everybody to buy from us, but is it because we want the money, or is it because you want to give value, right? So we need to figure out basically a value calendar of what is our general category that their book is in. So for example, we have a mutual friend now. So Mr. Vern Tejas, he's an international mountain climbing legend that my fiance Darren met on a mountaintop. And I helped him launch this book on social media a couple of years ago. Even though he had a publishing agency, they wouldn't help him launch his book. So I helped him do that launch. And so what we want to do is, like with Vern, he had one book. So we had to figure out different things that he can talk about around the concept. So the concept is mountaineering and mountain climbing. So we want to work backwards and we say, okay, Vern, well, what are some things that people always ask you about mountain climbing, right? And then you pick 1, 2, or 3 things or questions about that. And then you make that your broadcast for the day. And the rule is never more than 3, because the human brain will not remember more than 3. So you pick 1, 2, or 3 general topics, concepts, things that you know that other people don't, or a story, and you go live. Let's say you go live every Wednesday like we do. Like you tell them, don't forget, guys, be sure to come live, much like April does. Come live every Tuesday, every Wednesday at 6:30, and we'll talk about the topic, right? And then you talk about the topic and you tell your story, and then at the end you say, hey guys, I hope you enjoyed today. Oh, by the way, if you guys want, don't forget, you can click the link below and get a copy of my book in this category. You know what I mean? In the same category. And that's how you tie it together. And then it's not salesy because you led with value first before you did the pitch. Now, with Keith, when we do his shows, the day of the show, we're forthright about the sales, but the rest of the week, we provide value. I go live, Keith goes live. We show them behind the scenes of him in the shop working, making pumpkins. I show them what I'm doing at my house. People love it. They feel like they know me. So we're always building the know, like, and trust. So we peel back the curtain and we let them into our private lives. We show them our cats. They love it. People love it. They just want to know that you're human and that they can connect with you. So if you can figure out how to do that with your audience, the selling becomes super easy.
Awesome. Great advice. Great advice. And with that, we will wrap things up for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming in here, and make sure that if you have questions, to put them down there, and we would love to answer them. Thank you, everybody. And Sunny, you have been awesome.
Thank you, April.
Out there. Thank you, everybody, and we will talk soon. Bye, y'all.